Okay, I'm here with Abigail early in the morning. She agreed to wake up early just to do this special lesson all about lines. Now we all know what a line is. It's just that. Something that goes straight and it goes on forever in one direction and the other. But let's talk about graphing lines from equations. So if you have something like y equals 2x plus 3, then the way to graph that is you have a table with x and a y, and you just choose various values for x. So the best thing to do is always choose a 0 for x, because then that's easy to fill in, because then y is just 3 in this case, because 2 times 0 plus 3 is 3. And then just pick another easy value, maybe like 1. And then y would be 5. And you really only need 2 points to graph a line, but let's just do another one. So if we have a 2 there for x, then that would be 7 for y. So let's graph that. And when, Abigail, when you do your work, I hope that you'll do a neater graph than this. But this is just for illustration. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4. Actually, this is not too bad. This would be acceptable on homework, I think. But I'll get you some graph paper, okay? All right, so now let's change. Now let's plot these points. So if x is 0, y is 3, which is right there. So we make a point right there. And if x is 1, then y is 5, so that would be up there. And then if x is 2, y would be 7, which is actually way up there. Now if x was negative 1, I could just plug that in. That would be 1 for y, right? So there we go, and it makes a line. And then you can connect those with a ruler or something, or just, there's our line. Now, do you notice that this line has a slope upward, right? So you probably saw in another video that this would have a positive slope. Like, what would you guess the slope is for this, Abigail?
I don't know.
You don't know? It's too early in the morning. Well, every time x goes up by 1, y goes up by how many?
3.
From 3 to 5?
2.
2, right. It's very early in the morning, isn't it? So when x goes up by 1, every time x goes up by 1, the y goes up by 2. So that means the slope in this case is 2. The slope is 2. Now the other thing about lines is their intercept, their y-intercept, the place that they intercept the y-axis. So when x is 0, we already discussed that y is 3. So it crosses the y-axis at 3. So the slope is equal to, the y-intercept is equal to 3. So this is actually the point slope, the slope-intercept form of a line. When you have y equals mx plus b, notice m is 2. You see that 2 matches with that 2? And this 3 matches with that 3. So just by looking at this equation, I could say, okay, the slope is going to be 2. That means it's flying up like that. And then the intercept is 3, so I could put a dot right there, and then that tells me how the line goes. Does that make sense? All right, let's try another one here. But this time, the line won't be in slope-intercept form. It's going to be something like 2x plus 3y equals 5. Now this is not slope-intercept form, so I can't immediately tell what the slope is. But I'll show you how you can do that. But let's draw this line first. So we have an x and a y. And let's just plug in 0 for x, like I usually like to do. Then this goes away, and we ended up with 3y equals 5. So this would be 2.5 is the value for y. Oh, I'm sorry. 5 divided by 3 is 5/3. Right? And then when x is equal to 1, then this is 2 plus 3y equals 5. So then that would be y equals 1. You could just solve it out. And then let's just pick another one. Maybe x is equal to 3. That's a good idea. So then this is 6 plus 3y equals 5. So let me just write that on the side. 6 plus 3y equals 5. So what would y be? Well, I got to subtract 6 from both sides, so 3y equals negative 1. So y equals negative a third. All right, so this one is a little bit more difficult because I got fractions. So I got my wonderful graph paper, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4. Okay, when x is 0, let me get out my red pen here. When x is 0, y is 5/3, which is bigger than 1 but less than 2, so I'll just put it like right there. Not a big deal. Okay, when x is 1, y is 1. That's a little bit easier. And then when x is 3, y is negative a third. So that would be like right here. Good thing they form a line about. So let's turn to green. And we got a nice line going right through those points like that. Now what do you notice about this line? Does it have a positive slope or a negative slope?
Negative.
Negative. And what would you estimate that slope to be? Negative what? Well, every time x goes up by 1, y goes down by...
I don't know.
Well, it's tricky. It's 5/3 minus 1, which ends up being 2/3.
I
So it's negative 2/3. So I know the slope is going to be negative 2/3 because it's going down by 2/3 every time x goes over 1, y goes down by 2/3. So the slope is negative 2/3. We already know that the y-intercept is 5/3, right? Because that's the place that it crosses the y-axis, like this. So this would be our slope and intercept. Let's see if we can take this equation here and get those values algebraically, which is not graphically, but algebraically. So let's see. We'll delete this because we need some room. And what color? I think orange would be good for this. So we're going to take this equation and we're going to solve for y. So I need to put the 2x on the other side. So I've got 3y equals 5 minus 2x. Does that make sense? I took the 2x and I put it over there. Now, what else do I have to do to solve for y?
Get rid of, like, subtract 3.
Not subtract 3.
Oh, divide 3.
Divide by 3, that's right. So I divide 3 on both sides, and I get y equals 5 divided by 3. I got to distribute the division, minus 2/3 x. Now I just reorganize that a little bit to be negative 2/3 x plus 5/3. Now do you notice something? This is y equals mx plus b now. M, let me get my red. M is my negative 2/3. Ta-da! That's what we concluded over here as the slope. And b is 5/3. 5/3. So the thing to remember is that y equals mx plus b is the form that gives you the slope and the intercept. So without doing any graphing, you can find the slope and intercept of a line by putting it into slope-intercept form. Does that make some sense? Let's just do a few quick ones. And so the challenge here is to, Tommy's singing in the background, put these in slope-intercept form. Okay, so then the first example would be, I don't know, 2x plus y equals y, say 2y minus 5. So in this case, I need to put this into point slope form. So let's subtract. We need to basically get y on one side. So I'm going to subtract y from both sides and get blue. So, and then that will give me 2x. Oh, and I'm going to, while I'm at it, I'm going to add 5 to both sides. So 2x plus 5 equals y. Oh, I think I did it. So that means that y equals 2x plus 5. So, Abigail, what would the slope of this line be?
2 and 5.
Yeah, that 2 and 5 are the slope and the intercept. So which one is the slope?
2.
2. So m is equal to 2, and the intercept is 5. So that means it's going to cross the y-axis at 5. So I can actually graph this now. Without plugging in any points, I could say, okay, the y-intercept is 5, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is right here. And the slope being 2, that means it's going to go in which direction?
That.
It's going to slope up. Yep. So it slopes up like that with a slope of 2. So that means every time x goes over by 1, y is going to go down by 2 in that direction. And then every time it goes over 1 there, it's going to go up 2. That's what a slope means. So I could just graph it like that without having to plot any points, because I know the intercept and the slope. So this actually, the lesson shouldn't be called all about lines. It should really be called Slope-Intercept Form. There, easy to change. Okay, good job.